The developments in Syria were quite surprising for the international community because Bashar Al-Assad and his regime seemed to be very stable, which was not the case. So what we can do is to look at the factors which changed this. So I would say that the emphasis of Russia on the war in Ukraine, because Russia was supporting Bashar al-Assad for years, is one of the fundamental factors that changed the situation. So it seemed that Russia was not any longer interested in supporting Bashar al-Assad in Syria. At the same time, there are also other changes within Syria which impacted on the fall of the regime of Bashar al-Assad. I would say that the Middle East conflict and the fact that Iran, Hezbollah and Hamas are concentrating on the war against Israel weakened their position on the map and in Syria in particular. And at the same time, it seems to me that Turkey is a country which managed to deal with changes in Syria in a manner that are serving its interests. Turkey was there from the very first beginning, but from the moment Russia was not any longer prepared to extensively support Bashar al-Assad, Turkey, a country which was supporting the opposition for years, found the opportunity to gain ground, which became the case indeed. There is a new government in Syria which certainly has jihadist roots. So it was part of the opposition forces in the years of Bashar al-Assad. And the big question is right now up to what extent the new government can formulate and develop normalized policies, or it will go back to the practices it was applying during the years of Bashar al-Assad. It seems that there is a hope that the new government will employ pragmatic policies because it needs interest to collaborate with the West and other countries in particular. But at the same time, obviously, the international community, the European Union and also the United States should be very concerned and skeptical concerning the extent to which this government can really follow this pragmatism in its foreign and domestic policy. At the same time, beyond the government itself, it's important to look at the different actors within Syria. Turkey appears as a regional actor which is becoming very powerful in the post-Assad Syria, but at the same time we should also look at the role of Russia, because Russia didn't support Bashar al-Assad for him to stay in power, but it does not mean that it will completely lose its influence in Syria, taking into account that it still controls military bases. And obviously the United States is an actor which is highly significant in Syria, especially because the Islamic State remains active in Syria, and the fight against terrorism is always a priority for the United States. Israel is another regional actor which is quite significant in Syria. In the years of Bashar al-Assad, the responsibility and the priority of Israel was to fight against Hezbollah, which had the opportunity to use Syria as a basis to attack Israel. This is not the case any longer because Hezbollah, along with Iran and Hamas, are dealing with the Middle East war, and it means that Israel, without Bashar al-Assad being in power in Syria, it has the opportunity not only to remove all weapons from Syria, but also to gain ground within the country itself as far as the Golan Heights are concerned. But obviously, for Israel, what matters is its security, and having said that, its future relationship with Turkey will be quite significant for how Syria could look like in the future. Well, the European Union welcomed developments in Syria because it is clear that the regime of Bashar al-Assad was brutal against its own citizens. What follows next, of course, is the priority for the European Union right now, and up to what extent the new government in Syria will move away from its radical roots and be pragmatic as far as its foreign policy is concerned. The European Union didn't play a big role in developments which led to the fall of Bashar al-Assad, but it attempts to play a role in order to save the future of Syria for the years to come. So the European Union is participating in regional and international fora about the role of Syria. I would say that the priorities for the European Union would be stability in the country, so that no other civil war will break out, and at the same time to make sure that all different communities and religious communities might be involved in the Syrian fate for the years to come. And obviously the role of women is quite significant for Europe, taking into account that the current Syrian government seems a little bit not concerned about the role that women should play in politics. Beyond that, beyond security, stability and the new constitution of Syria, I would say that it's quite significant for the European Union to look at the management of the refugee crisis, because there is an opportunity, if Syria is to become stabilized, for refugees to return to their own country. So Europe needs to contribute to that, and obviously the relationship between the European Union and Turkey towards this direction will be quite significant. But we need to bear in mind that the priorities of Turkey are not necessarily the same with the priorities of Europe and the United States, because Turkey is mainly interested in dealing with the Kurdish problem, while the Kurds, from a Western perspective, are quite significant for the fight against the Islamic State. So it's important for Europe to strike a balance in collaboration with the United States, although it's not very clear what type of policy the new President Donald Trump will follow in the country. In his first remarks, he attempted to say that it's not in the interest of the United States to become an active player in Syria, but we have to wait and see.